Hello. So in this video, I will be discussing and explaining the evolution of management using a minimum of 4 of the perspectives taken from Exhibit 2.1, page 40 in the text. First of all, I decided to talk about 4 perspectives, just the minimum. And these are my notes that I will be reading off of. So first, I'm going to talk about classical perspective, and it means scheduling complex manufacturing operations and dealing with increased labor dissatisfaction and resulting strikes. So, mainly in a classical perspective, people focused on the things of production emerged during the 19th and early 20th century. And this is when a salaried manager was born, and they were able to study 4 subfields. The 4 of them are scientific management, bureaucratic organizations, administrative principles, and management sciences. So, I'm going to talk about scientific management first, and in this, managers were able to develop a standard method for performing each job. So they had to select workers for certain jobs that they thought would fit in this job. They had to interview them by seeing if they fit that job correctly, and then they would also talk to them about the amount of income they would get, and if they were able to move up levels or stayed at the job longer. They talked about the amount of income that would be raised or whatnot. And then they would have to talk about training and seeing if that person is going to be successful in that business and for that certain work. And then another thing is they have to demonstrate the importance to work correctly. So this is like having safety course videos and background videos of like what the job is about, showing scenarios of what you're doing, and just getting the training of knowing what your job is about. And then lastly, if that person was not fit for the job, the manager would have to find a new person who would fit that job better and be able to get the job done. And the way they look for this is the way the person that was not doing a good job, the way they were treating others, how they behaved, if they did their job or if they didn't do their job, just stuff like that. And then next I'm going to talk about bureaucratic organizations, and this is like my job. So you in bureaucratic organizations, you are writing on a paper what you did, you have a dress code, and just like stuff like that. So for example, my job, I work for the Department of Roads for Nebraska, and we have a certain dress code. And so we have to have a safety vest, a t-shirt, no cutoffs, jeans, and steel-toed boots, and a neon hat. And you have to wear these things for your job because it keeps you safe, and when you were working on the side of the road, people can see you when they're driving by you. And so, that's another thing is bureaucratic organizations have like courses and stuff that you are supposed to take for the job so that you know what you are doing and you don't get in trouble. And so in my job, sometimes we wear hard hats if we're dealing with hard lumber, and sometimes we wear safety glasses if we're going by machinery that throws stuff at your face. And another thing is writing on paper. So we have this paper that we have to fill out after we are done with our day. So at the end of the day, we will fill out the activity we did. So say we went weed whacking, we put down the activity number for weed whacking. And then another thing is if you drove a different vehicle, so you write down the vehicle number, then you put down the gas mileage and the amount of gas you used, and or not the gas mileage, the odometer, and then the amount of gas you put in, and then how many miles you drove it that day. And if you did something with hours, you would just put in the hours and then say how many hours you did. And then at the end of the paper, you say what you did for the day, like exactly what you did and exactly where you were. And then, so next I'm going to talk about administrative principles, which is the total organization. By what that means is the manager is studying the whole entire organization of like the whole entire business instead of just one individual, like just a person or a worker. So they study how the business can be better, what it needs, how many resources, stuff like that. And so the next I'm going to talk about management science, and this is addressing the problems with people or with the job. So the manager addresses problems through people by seeing what they're doing wrong and being able to talk to them and figuring out a solution. Another way of addressing problems that a manager does is for the business. If the business is struggling, they figure out how to solve this problem so that their business can continue to be successful. And then next I'm going to talk about a people-driven workplace. And so this is usually based off of new technology and how our society just changes every year. And so this goes to employee engagement. And so younger employees, they hire new employees which become younger every year. And so younger employees seek more purpose in their work, which changes workplace culture and practices. So this means that like the workplace evolves differently every year because there's new people coming into the workplace and suggesting new ideas and just changing up the whole entire business in general. So I'm going to talk about radical decentralization. And radical decentralization is authority. One second. Okay, so radical decentralization is the authority that is radical rather than incremental. So this is like employees have full authority to make key decisions and no manager or subordinate is included. So like managers are able to decide if they want to invent something. They just have to get the amount of products they want. They order all of this stuff on their own, and then they are able to do all of this on their own so that nobody stops them, I guess. And then so when they are able to run their own their own business or like create their own product or do for this business, be able to do whatever they want, they are able to flourish when they tend to flourish when they are given more responsibility, and they give decision-making authority to people who are closest to the work being done. So like in a business, for somebody who is a good worker and they know that they will get it done, they will give this person a specific job so that they can do it because they know that when they work on their own, they are able to get it done. And then next is people bringing higher levels of energy, passion, and creativity to their work. So people who are more upbeat and more positive, they are able to do a better impact on the workplace, and this is able to get other people to understand them when they suggest a new idea for the business, because they are very positive in the work environment. And then people are happier when they have control of their own work. So if you are working under somebody and they have to tell you what to do, it's kind of not fun because it feels like you're doing chores. And people who are able to decide what they want to do will be able to have more motivation because they get to decide what ideas they want to put into it, what resources, what they want to buy, stuff like that. So that's mainly what I think of people-driven workplace. And an example of this is in the book it talked about a online discount site, and it was for people that got to decide when they voted if they either wanted the company to continue serving free lunch or apply that money to lowering health insurance premiums for workers. So like being able to vote, everybody was to decide what they wanted, or like what they wanted that money to go to, and instead of having to have a manager or a boss decide, they decided as a collective group. And then next I'm going to talk about humanistic perspective, and this is the humanity of production. And it is the importance of understanding human behaviors, needs, and attitudes in the workplace. There are 3 subfields to this, and the first one is human relations movement, and this is when a manager or somebody studies on just that one individual, their behavior, how they work, stuff like that. They are able to just learn the basics of that human and what is best for that human. And then second, I'm going to talk about human resources perspective. This is to understand the limit of their employees' full potential. They get to study what their full potential is, and of the business, and how all of these people that they have, they study about how all these people can come together and be full potential for that business. And then last one is behavioral science approach, and this is based around human behavior. So they study about how people behave, and what they can do to keep people have a positive environment and have a good attitude and work safely and work hard. And so that's what they study. They study is how a human brain works and what they can do to have a good workplace. And an example for this is Buurtzorg. I might be saying that wrong, but they wanted new office space for their hospital. And instead of having managers and other people decide, they had the nurses decide. And the nurses got to decide which room certain employees got to go to, and how many nurses got each certain employee, or what nurses wanted a certain employee. And in the example, I don't remember the guy's name, but he said that he believes that the nurses will work more responsibly and better and keep the patients safer, and by doing this they were able to choose their own, and he thinks that this is better after all. And so then fourth of all, I decided to talk about system thinking, and it is the ability to see both the distinct elements of a system or situation and the complex and changing interactions among those elements. So what this means is the managers need to understand the whole organization. They need to break down the system into discrete parts and look for patterns for movement over time. They also need to focus on the qualities of rhythm, flow, direction, shape, and networks of relationships that accomplish the performance of the whole. So, in system thinking, managers have to be able to have to brainstorm in order to create new ideas for their job or for their business, and be able to build up these ideas in order to film or to create something really nice for their business. And so an example that is struggling with system thinking is McDonald's, and they are struggling to revive sales and earnings, which they created new products, like first they created mozzarella sticks and some other stuff I don't remember, and it created the workers to work on these products a lot longer and create longer lines, which caused them to lose more customers because they left the line instead to go get foods from somewhere else. And so in order for a manager to get around this problem, they have to brainstorm, and they have to think of a solution that will get them around this problem and get their business to being even more successful instead of losing customers. So that's what I mainly think about the evolution of management, is these 4 things have a really big play into it, because it studies a lot about what management is, and to see that these things people have studied from all the way back when, it shows how much management has really come to be now. So that is everything I have to say.